So one of my neighbors called me, had this old tractor sitting over there in the field. He's got like 3 tractors, and I don't know how long it'd been sitting there, but he called me and said, come over here and see if you can get this old Ford tractor running. So I went over there and he had a tarp over it, and tires is flat, and I videoed a little bit of that. That's before we started this channel. So I'll try to insert some of that video here. All right, so we got this old Ford. Been sitting for a couple of years. Already aired up the front tires. Pull this old tarp off of one side of it. Got my pan under there. I'm going to take this old filter thing loose here and drain any gas that's in it out. So we got good gas to start with. Got to get the rest of this old tarp moved, and then I'll use the old Ryobi compressor to air up the back tires. I may pull the plugs out and spray a little WD in there. Swap the battery out. I brought another battery and get it turned over, and then we'll see if we can get some fuel in it, see if we can get it to fire up. All right, be back in a bit. Percolating. Put this breather back on here and see if we can get her to drive around a little. So anyway, it took a few days and a few trips back over through there to get it running. Come on here a little closer, I'll show you some of the stuff we did back then. So what we did to get it running last time, we had to take this petcock drain off right here, and it was all stopped up and rusted out, full of rust in that old gas tank, and ordered another one, put it on there, new shut off. I'd take that old line out and blow it out, and put new spark plugs in it. And he'd already had somebody else working on it, and they'd put a new distributor in it, but they had it 180 off, and the firing order was wrong. So got that fixed, put a new coil on it there. This is one of them 12-volt coils with internal resistor. So we just bypassed this old resistor here, and old battery is on it. We charged it up enough, we got it running last time, but this time it's give up the ghost. I had to stick this one on there just a little bit ago to get it going. Nope, she does a hammer. Walk around the other side and I'll show you that carburetor and stuff. Of course, this bowl and this carburetor is all the same thing. I got a kit, rebuilt this carburetor, and so this time I went back over there. You'll see I drained this stuff out. Didn't have that filter on there. I cut that line, come over here and got this old filter off an old tractor of mine just to get it running. And there's already a bunch of rust sediment in the bottom of this bowl here, even with that filter on. So we're going to end up taking that tank off and probably take this carburetor back off and re-clean it and make sure everything's good. And he had this loose here where he's spraying a little, I mean, you know, you got to do what you got to do. He's spraying a little ether in there to get it to start, but we want it where it'll start with the key and just run. So we'll get in here and see what we can get into. So I'll insert that video there for the original, how this was set up. So my neighbor called me. Got an old Ford tractor over here. I had it running about 6 months ago. It's been sitting out here and weeds growed back up around it. He's gonna move it, cut and get started again. So we'll go over here and see if we can get her moving. I'll flip you around here and see what we got. All right, so I ended up taking this plug out here. Wasn't getting any fuel out of the carburetor. So took the bowl off, and needle valve stuck. Got it opening up, got fuel running through it. Actually went up there and took an old filter off of an old tractor of mine. Brought it down here. This fuel just full of garbage. So hopefully we got fuel in there now. We'll back up here and see if we can't get this thing to start up. Alright, he's gonna bring this old tractor on over to the house. We're running around here a little bit. bush hogged a little bit with it. Then got them stacked gears on the gear shifter. And it's a little tricky finding first gear. Once you get it in first, it does pretty good. And the PTO doesn't want to stay in gear. And the old bush hog on the right side there is just flopping. So he's gonna bring it over to the house and leave it, and we'll weld up that bush hog when we get a chance. Do a wheelie on it. A few other issues I was noticing there as I was trying to pull this thing in here. One's this clutch pedal here. It ain't supposed to be like that. It need to be way down here. So she's bowed up like crazy right in there, and pretty wore out right in there too. She's just flopping. And this old seat up here, which I got them all covered, all stuck in there. There really ain't nothing wrong with that. That'll work. But this armrest deal here, that needs a little bit of work done on it. And this note here too. Can you imagine bouncing out through the field, you know, bush hogging or cutting hay or something, and that thing ricocheting off your arm? And I don't know what we'll fix, what we won't fix. Biggest thing is to get it running. See if I can get around here where we see that gauge cluster there. It's actually, I was surprised that the hour meter and RPM deal actually worked. Oil pressure worked, fuel tank worked. That temperature gauge busted though. So that's gonna need a little bit of attention there. And we'll probably clean all this mess up pretty good. I'm thinking we're gonna take that tank plumb off to be able to get that junk out of it. So we'll see what we can do. All right, so we're gonna get started on this thing. The first order of business, I'm gonna come in here and take this battery off. I actually just put it down there right before I pulled it in the shop here. That old battery that was on it was dead. And this one wasn't much better. It's on my old tractor. And I pulled my old tractor over here and tried to jump it off, but it just didn't have enough ump, so I took the battery off and put it down here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off and get it out of the way. And then over here on the other side, I'm gonna go ahead and drain this. I'm gonna take this hose off here and get me a old gas jug over here. And I may have to replace the filter a time or two, but I'm gonna try to get the gas filtered coming out of the tank into a jug where we can reuse that gas. The gas ain't that old, it's in there, but the tank was so bad, it just rusted up. So we'll see what it looks like when we get it out of there, but that's gonna be the first order of business. May set you up on time lapse over here and tear into this thing, see what we can get done. So I'll bring you back, we got a little more to see. Well, that's good news. That hood and fender assembly, the gas tank's not made to it on these. My weighed in, it's made on there. So it's a booger to get off because you're pulling the tank and all. So really that wasn't too bad. Come on in here and take a look at it. Let me just flip you around here. So yeah, it's just take these bolts out here and here and here. And they was, at one time they was bolts through them, but they wasn't on this side, and I'm glad because there was one on the other side and it was a pain to get to. So we'll still have to take that tank loose and take it off, take it outside and clean it up. The old radiator got something on the front of it right there. We may need to check that out before we put that hood back on there. Might be a good time to drain that out and go ahead and solder that up and fix that a little better there. But yeah, that'll make it a lot easier to get to. All right, I'll set you back up over here and we'll see if we can get that tank taken off. I'll bring you back in here. We draining this gas out here. Already got 5 gallons out and probably about a half a gallon in that. Took this bottom off of this air filter. It's supposed to be an oil bath. So there's a cap sets on here supposed to be filled with oil. And I took it off and should bone dry. Didn't have a bit of oil in it. Had a bunch of dirt in it. I cleaned it up and then I thought, I need to show that to you guys. Then over here on the intake part of it, got a dirt dauber's nest in there. So we'll get all that junk cleaned out. I'm gonna go ahead and take, oh, about fell over here. I'm gonna go ahead and take this thing off. It's bolted in right here, right in there. I'm gonna get this out of the way and probably take the solenoid loose right here. And we walk over here at the other side and I'll show you. The whole bottom rusted out of that battery box there. I mean, she's plumb gone. And there's a spring on here that's going over there to the throttle. So I'm thinking, let's unbolt that thing, take it out. I've got some old scrap plate over there. I went over and got a little piece of it. I think I can bend some of this. Of course, this is just a scrap piece. I think I can bend some of that and weld it on the bottom of that and rebuild that battery case. And that'll fix that bad boy right up. And while we're in there, we can get that air filter cleaned up and get it where we can put oil back in it and get her put back together. So had to get all that gas out of that tank, make it easier to get the tank off there. It's got, I'll show you that too while we're here. I ain't really looked at it. There's bolts. I think one here, one over there on the other side, one on that side, one on this side. And of course, I think I'll go ahead and take this thing. I may just take the line off and leave that on there and shut that valve off and get it out there and get it cleaned up. We'll show you how much rust comes out of it. All right, we'll be back. All right, so it's actually the next morning. My neighbor came by here about daylight this morning. I was out walking shadow, and he moved his cows over into the field over here, and he's come by checking on them, make sure there wasn't none of them out. And anyway, he picked up the old battery and took it and brought another battery back. I was going to give you an update on this old oil bath here. Took it off and it was bone dry. Had some dirt and stuff in there and cleaned up the bottom of it. I'll bring it here and show you. So it wasn't from neglect. It was from, let me turn this around here. Right, there's a hole. See that right in there? So it was draining out the bottom of that thing. So I think I can probably braze or silver solder up that hole. Rest of it's pretty solid, and get that fixed. So probably gonna put you on time lapse here and we'll tear into this thing, see how far we can get today. All right, let me bring you back in here and show you a few things we got here. So here's that old battery box. And this is the setup that he had there, which really it was working pretty good. Had this old piece of barbecue grill stuck down on the bottom of it there. But the whole bottom of that thing's rusted out. I mean, she's gone. This little old L bracket here, I think that's been added at some point. We don't need that resistor anymore. We did away with that. We got that coil that it's got an internal resistor. So I may just take all that off, make it a little easier to get a new bottom put on that thing. And that thing was sitting right in here. So this spring right here was hooked to that L bracket, and there was a problem with the old tractor, when you was trying to run it, you had it throttled up, it would like just keep pulling back down. You'd have to throttle it up and it would pull back down. So I think that spring was too strong or hooked up in the wrong spot, or that battery was hanging up on it, something. Anyway, there's the issue there. So we're gonna have to fix that. And I was looking, see if I can get you lined up here where you can tell that belt is kind of bowing in back to the alternator over there. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here or nothing, but there's a lot of little things that we need to try to take care of. So I got to looking over here, and it looks like this is a one wire GM alternator that's been added after the fact. So they've done away with the 04. I'll have to go look up the model number on this thing. This one probably had an alternator. It probably wasn't a generator, and it probably was 12 volt, not 6 volt like some of the old ones are. But at any rate, this whole mount right here may be different than what the original one was. I don't know, I have to research on it. I'll try to let you know. But anyway, there's 2 bolts right down here that will let you adjust that whole thing back and forth. So I think that'll be a simple fix. We can just adjust that up, and as long as we ain't hitting that exhaust pipe there, which we should clear that, got plenty of room there, looks like. We'll get that thing lined back up, and that ought to help that a little bit. And it was kind of aggravating the way this bowl, this glass bowl right here, sits on that right there. And it was kind of a problem getting on and off with this mount here. So I'm saying that stuff ain't factory, ain't original. Don't know if this carburetor's been changed. Don't know if this is, you don't know what you're getting into when you're looking at these old tractors. So we may make some changes on this. I'm not sure yet. It's nice to have a sediment bowl. Most of them's up there on the tank, but there ain't no room on the tank for this one. So we are going to put an inline fuel filter on it, and we'll do one of them clear ones that you can see through, and maybe put some quick connects on it or something if you have to change it. But hopefully we can get that old gas tank cleaned out where that won't be an issue. So I don't know, we may do some changes on this too. We'll see when we get on in there a little bit further. And got the old tank set off. So I'm gonna take this thing outside, get the pressure washer, clean up the outside of it, see if I can mix up something. I've got some rust killer, rust remover stuff. We might mix up about a gallon of it and slosh it around, let her sit there in the bottom of it all night or something, and then pressure wash it out tomorrow and see if we can get some of that rust out. So I'll bring you back and we got a little more to see. All right, so I got this old, this old tank out here and got it washed off, and put some water in it. See if we can see how rusty that thing is coming out of there. Get you lined up on that. You're looking pretty rough. Alright, I'm gonna rinse that out about 3 or 4 times. And then we'll put some chemical in there, see if we can kill it. So I'll get back to you. Alright, so we set up over here at the press. I've done bent a couple of pieces for a new bottom on this battery box. Got that old tank rinsed out, sitting outside. Got the rust remover stuff sitting in it. We'll let that set all night. We'll check it again in the morning. But done been working on this a little bit. I done bent me one piece and got it slid in the bottom there, coming up on both sides. And so I'm fixing to bend me another one here. And I'll show you how I've done it here. So I just got this old scrap, and actually this was like I was on a job site, maybe some equipment come in, and it was strapped to some pallets with some big old like 4x6 stuff, heavy equipment, and I was gonna chunk all this stuff in the dumpster, and I threw it in the truck and brought it home because I'm like, well, that'll come in handy for something, and it sure has. I had it up there at the barn, went up there and got it. So got me a mark there. Basically, I'm just gonna set this thing in here, throw me an old piece of wood on top of it, Got my piece of angle iron there just to come out for my size. Get my mark lined up there. Just hold it in place. I mean, if you ain't got a brake, you gotta do what you gotta do, you know what I mean? Yeah, it may be a little loud. If it's too loud on the video, I'll edit that racket out. All right, so there we go. I already measured this one side where she'd fit up there, right under that mark right there. So I'll have to mark this one. I think I'm just gonna cut it about the same height as this other one here. I'll go over here and get me a mark on that and get. Don't bore you with all that, but then we may have to take a piece and put on the bottom here, like with a little lip on the front. This is actually about 2 inches short of what the battery is. So originally it didn't come out but about that long. We make it a little longer. We may go about 10.5 inches. Come out here with a little lip up and turn it back. And we'll see if we can get all that stuff weld together. So I'll work on this a little bit more and I'll bring you back and show you what we got. All right, so I got that thing cleaned up pretty good out there and pressure washed the inside of it out, poured it out 2 or 3 times. Blew through it with the leaf blower. I got standing up out there now in the front of the garage in the sun, kind of let the sun dry it out. I let it sit there for a little bit, took the leaf blower back over there and blew through it, turned it upside down, sloshed around, got a little bit more water out of it. So I believe we're gonna have it dried out pretty good. This that rust stuff I mixed up is just, I don't know, Metal Rescue. I'm trying to see what was underneath that thing. I picked that up over at Ollie's for a couple of bucks. Had a couple of them, done used one of them. And on some old rusted stuff I'd got out of the barn up there, just put it in a bucket and set stuff in there. It worked pretty good. So looks to me like what I'm seeing so far, and I'll show you here in a few minutes down in that tank. Looks pretty good. Meanwhile, I guess your projects are about like mine when you start on something. Like I had to go get gas for the pressure washer, and so it wasn't just to the closest station. I had to go over here and get some 100% because you put that ethanol stuff in there and it sets for a month, and now you're working on the pressure washer, you know what I mean? So got some good gas, and so while I was out, I was thinking my old arc welder's over here, and I actually come back in here and we'll start on that old battery box over there. And I know I'm a little scattered, but I'm juggling this project, you know what I mean? You do yours that way too, right? So my old Lincoln arc welder, my shop, I called it my old shop, but it's just an enduring term. It's not that old. Just got it built. It just looks old because I've done the inside with a bunch of old stuff. So I don't have power in here yet for my welder. I've been running it off a generator. So while I was out getting gas, I just run by the Home Depot and picked me up a box and a receptacle and a cover and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I might just set you up over here. I know that might not be what you tuned in for, but got me a little old scrap paste conduit here. I'm just gonna bend it and drop out of the bottom of this panel box right here. And say, you qualified to do that? Well, I'm supposed to be. I just retired from doing that. So maybe I'll still remember how to get a little bitty paste conduit in the box set, but we'll throw this in the mix here and leave it in the comment. How's your projects go? Do you ever get to work start to finish, or do you have to make a trip to town? You got to do something else before you can do something else. You know what I mean? So I'll set you up here and I'll get back to you in a minute. All right, one more project knocked out. Got that thing mounted on there. Worked out pretty good. Checked the voltages on it. So I'm gonna drag that old welder over here and hook it up. I'll have to clean up that old battery box. That old rusted metal, it's gonna be hard, if not impossible to weld. So we'll see what we can figure out here. Be back to you in a minute. All right, so I've rigged us up some stuff here we can see down in the bottom of that tank. Right here's that bore scope. I got it sitting right over that hole that drains out into the fuel petcock underneath. And you can see there's still just a little bit of rust there, but she's in pretty good shape. I stuck me a light down in there. Hopefully we can get over here and so that looks. See if I can get you to focus in. Oh yeah, there we go. That's bore scope right there. So she looks pretty good down there on the bottom to me. So I think we'll call that good. Got some new paint on it there, so she looks all spiffy. Also an update on the battery box. I got about 3/4 of it. I got these two pieces on the side. Got them welded together there, welded on the top. Kind of burn in around through there. This stuff here is just, you can't weld it. It's just so rusty and it's so far gone, it just busts out everywhere. So I think I got it far enough that it'll hang in there. Got this little piece in there, so I'm gonna have to cut this one. It's a little wider than what I need, so I'm gonna have to cut it down, get it set in there. So hopefully my battery will just sit right down in there. And I set it in there earlier and checked it out. I'm gonna take this whole thing back over here and set it in the tractor and make sure it's still gonna fit before I get too carried away. But I'll bring you back here when we got a little more update. All right, so it's looking like it's gonna work. Of course, it's sitting a little low. Have to come up right there and line up with them bolt holes. And looks like we may have to tweak that one in just a little bit. I'm sure there'll be a little tweaking on it. I got this one cut down where it semi-fits in there. I'm gonna take it out here and do a little grinding on that and see if I can get that welded in there. Might just set you up on time lapse here where you're kind of part of the procedure here and see if we can get that cleaned up. So here we go. All right, I'll bring you in here and show you what we got on the old battery box. I went ahead and set the battery down in there so you can see how she sets. It's in there pretty good. So hopefully when we get it on the tractor, that lip there won't be too much. We can get it under the side of the hood. Shouldn't even need a tie down. It ought to stay in there pretty good. So, kind of go over. Of course, you know, we made them two strips that went down both sides. And then we did these two strips in the middle with the lip up here. And of course this is original, that's original. So it don't look too bad. A little bit of farmer welding, a little bit of grill, barbecue grill paint, rust resistant, high temp. And so put a little seam sealer down there, try to keep stuff out of them cracks where the battery has to get down in there, and them cracks where the wells was, and rust her all out. So it wasn't good and dry when I set that battery in there. It kind of smudged it a little bit. So I'm gonna get that thing stuck back on there and see if we can get the screws in that gas tank, and I'll get back with you. All right, welcome back. We're gonna see if we can't get this old tank put back together here. So we've got this petcock deal that has an O-ring on it that just fell off. We're gonna stick this thing back on there and get it tightened down. We'll just route it back around just the way it was. We stick a little something on there just to keep that O-ring in place until we get her dropped down on there. Stick just a little old spot RTV on it just to hold it in place. That ought to do it right there. Put much oomph on them. It ain't gonna take much. Throw that little O-ring down. All right, let's flip this bad boy back up. Go ahead and put the cap on there. This fuel sanding unit, I said it was working. Well, the fuel gauge, when we pulled it in here, was showing a half a tank. Oil pressure was reading. The RPM thing was reading. The only thing wasn't working was temperature gauge. So when I took this thing out, it had a hole in it right there. So I'm like, how could that thing be working? It did have about a half tank in it, and that's what it was showing. But it had cork in it. But there's a hole in it there, and a bunch of that cork had come out. So I soldered up that hole, and probably lost a little more of that cork than what we had. Let me take a look at that. Might give her just a little bend. So it looked like it had been riding on the bottom of the tank. See what that looks like. Pull this back out. There's a little old paper gasket deal right there that's still in fairly decent shape, but I'm gonna smooth just a little RTV on it. This being on the top of the tank, don't have to worry too much about it leaking. But if it's full plumb up and you're bush hogging or something and bouncing around, don't need to be sloshing nothing out and building fumes that's gonna ignite, because the exhaust pipe's running like right under there. So we want to keep her safe as we can. That'll do. just sets down in that notch and then turns. That's it. Alright. Reposition you just a little bit. We'll see if we can set that thing on there. See what kind of view you got right there. I don't really remember which bolt hit where. I guess we'll figure it out. Be able to bolt this back one on yet because that same mounting hole right here is the one that mounts that battery box too. So we'll have to put that on there pretty much at the same time. This deal here bolts back on there too. So, alright, let me bring you back in here and show you what I've been up to. I got this tank on there, got it bolted down, got the battery box all bolted down. And I don't know if you can get in here and see this or not. Remounted this solenoid. Actually redid that wire, and there's a bunch of scrap wire in there. Like, I'm thinking this thing used to have a voltage regulator and stuff. So there was a bunch of wires running down there at the front that they didn't need, and they was just dogged off and hanging out. So I took all that out and just got one wire coming from the alternator back around here now, and pretty much rewired just about everything on the switch there. And so I got the fuel tank hooked back up, and back here on the back I rewired that light, run the wire around through there. It had been run right beside the shifter here, and this is one of them stacked transmissions, and so when it's mashing down on the, you changing gears, it was mashing that wire there going back there to that light. Excuse me. So anyway, redid that. Got the old battery sitting on here. And I think she looks pretty good right there. They did have it flipped before and had the positive over there and the negative over here. And it was too close for comfort on that positive, especially if you had to jump it off. So I'm gonna turn it around, put the positive out here where you can kind of get to it. So I've got 2 more wires I'll have to run off the switch right here. I may just wait till we get the hood back on there. I'm gonna have to rewire these old lights right here and reroute the wire back around there to the switch anyway. So we just about got that stuff put back together. I still got to adjust that alternator over there, line that belt up a little bit, and we will be able to put a little bit of fuel in it and fire it up. So it's getting a little late. Probably gonna call it a night. Supposed to run by a car show tomorrow. Might take a few pictures or something, throw them in there on the video. So we'll catch you later.